Welcome to the deep dive. We're exploring a really fascinating figure today, Sri Rama-Krishna, but focusing specifically on, well, his early years.
Exactly. We're using the biography, Life of Sri Rama-Krishna, to delve into his boyhood.
And the goal here for this deep dive is to understand those formative experiences, right? The things that happened when he was young Gadadhar, that was his given name, which sort of set the stage for the spiritual leader he became.
Precisely. We're looking for the roots, the foundations of this really remarkable life, trying to grasp what shaped him from the very beginning.
Okay, so we'll be covering quite a bit from, well, the impact of his father's death through some early spiritual signs and how his unique character started to emerge.
That's the plan. It's a critical period.
So let's kick off with what seems like a major turning point, losing his father.
Absolutely. The biography describes the Chatterjee family's life in Kamarpukur as pretty quiet, but that was disrupted in 1843.
Right, that's when his father, Khudiram, fell ill. Gadadhar was only 7 then.
7. And his father was 68. It apparently started as something like indigestion, but then it unfortunately progressed to chronic dysentery. His health really went downhill.
The story of his father's final journey is quite moving, actually. He went to the Durga Puja festival at his nephew's place, even though he was so sick.
Yeah, in Sonepur. It really speaks volumes about his devotion, doesn't it? Durga Puja is a major event.
Definitely. But sadly, things took a turn for the worse there.
They did. On the 4th day of the festival, he lost consciousness. His nephew, Ramchand, realizing the end was near, started saying the name of Raghuveer, a deity Khudiram deeply revered.
And he responded.
Amazingly, yes. Biography says Khudiram uttered Raghuveer 3 times just before he passed away.
Wow, you can just feel the shock and, well, the unspeakable gloom, as the biography puts it. That must have hit the family, especially his mother, Chandra Devi.
Oh, absolutely. For a traditional Hindi wife, losing her husband was seen as losing her visible God on earth. It's a profound loss.
So she turned inward.
Completely. She shifted away from worldly things, dedicating herself to prayer, meditation, seeking solace, really. And maybe, thinking about reunion in the next life.
You can see how that kind of intense grief and spiritual focus in the household might have influenced young Gadadhar.
No doubt. It likely prompted deeper questions about life, death, and permanence, even at that young age.
And it wasn't just his mother affected. His older brother, Ramkumar, suddenly had the whole family's responsibility on his shoulders.
A huge weight. Caring for his mother, his younger siblings, managing everything.
But the biography really emphasizes the change in Gadadhar himself. He was only 7, but this loss seemed to mature him somehow.
It did. It marked a shift. He started becoming more aware of his father's, unique character compared to other people. There was a growing seriousness beneath the surface, even though he was still a kid.
Spending time alone, contemplating in the mango grove and even the cremation ground, that's quite intense for a child.
It really is. It suggests a mind already grappling with deeper realities. And he also became more interested in Puranic recitals, those ancient religious stories.
And making clay images of deities too, right?
Yes. It's like he was instinctively drawn towards the sacred, perhaps seeking understanding or comfort.
And his behavior towards his mother changed too. He tried to comfort her.
He did. He helped with chores, assisted in her worship of Raghuveer, their family deity. He became less demanding, showing this remarkable sensitivity to her grief.
Okay, so that's the impact of loss. But there were other early spiritual leanings too, weren't there? Particularly his interactions with sadhus, the wandering monks.
Yes, that's another key influence. Kamarpukur was actually on a pilgrim route to Puri, a major holy city.
Ah, so monks would pass through regularly.
Exactly, and a local family, the Lahas, had even built a rest house for them. Gadadhar was apparently fascinated by these sadhus.
What drew him in?
Their stories, their whole way of life really was so different. Their seeming indifference to pain and pleasure, their devotion, their simple contentment. He was captivated.
It sounds like he was seeing a different way to live, beyond the everyday concerns. The biography mentions him becoming more aware of the world's transience through them.
Precisely. He wasn't just observing, he was absorbing this idea of detachment. He'd spend hours with them, listening to religious discussions, learning songs, joining prayers.
Even helping them out.
Yes, sharing food, assisting them, and they grew fond of him too.
His mother was okay with this initially.
At first, yes, she saw it as positive. But then came that rather dramatic incident.
Ah, yes, the ashes in the loincloth.
Right. He basically showed up looking like a miniature sadhu, covered in ashes, wearing a kopina, and declared he'd become one.
Understandably, his mother got worried.
Very anxious. She worried he might be led astray or, fall in with people who weren't genuinely holy.
So she asked him to stop seeing them.
She did. And, interestingly, he agreed, but insisted on saying a proper farewell first. The monks even reassured his mother, which is quite touching.
But even that relatively short exposure seems significant.
Definitely. It clearly deepened his inclination towards meditation, toward that inner life. It really foreshadows his later path, his asceticism.
Then there's this other striking incident, the one involving the goddess Visalakshi at Anur. It suggests something. Well, extraordinary was already happening.
Yes, that's another key story. Visalakshi was a widely worshipped local deity, especially by the poorer sections of society, outcasts, cowherd boys. She had broad appeal.
And Gadadhar wanted to go on a pilgrimage to her shrine.
He insisted on going with a group of women, including one known for her piety, Prasanna.
And during the journey itself, something happened.
They did. They were walking, singing hymns to the goddess, and suddenly Gadadhar was just overwhelmed by intense religious feeling.
How did it manifest?
His body went rigid, he stopped walking, tears streamed down his face, but he was completely unresponsive. The women were terrified, thinking it was sunstroke.
They couldn't rouse him.
No. Until Prasanna, in desperation, cried out to the goddess Visalakshi for help.
And then?
Almost immediately after her plea, the biography says, Gadadhar started showing signs of coming back to himself. He returned to normal consciousness soon after, apparently fine.
It's one of those moments that makes you pause. Was it seen as a miracle? Or maybe an early, powerful trance state?
Exactly. It points to this incredible capacity he had, even as a boy, for profound spiritual absorption.
Okay, let's move to the Upanayana, the sacred thread ceremony. This is a major event for a Brahmin boy.
Huge. At age 9, it marks the entry into a life of religious study and discipline, the twice-born status. It's a big deal, steeped in tradition, and Gadadhar was looking forward to it.
But there was a complication around the first bhiksha, the first ritual seeking of alms.
Yes, a very interesting one. Custom dictated that the first alms should come from a relative or someone of equal caste standing.
But someone else wanted to give it.
Right. A blacksmith woman named Dani, who clearly loved the boy dearly, had long wanted to be the one to offer him his first bhiksha. And Gadadhar, out of affection or maybe recognizing her sincerity, had promised her she could.
So after the ceremony, he tells his family about this promise. He insisted on keeping his word.
Absolutely. The biography highlights his undeviating love for truth. He just wouldn't break his promise. Faced with his determination, the family eventually gave in.
And Dani gave him the first alms. That's quite something.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Was it just stubbornness? Or was it this deep, innate commitment to truth, to his word, that overruled social convention even then? It suggests a powerful inner compass.
It really does. And then not long after that, maybe around age 10, there's another incident showing remarkable wisdom.
Ah, yes, at the Shraddha ceremony, the post-funeral rite at Dharmada's Laha's house.
There was a debate among the learned Brahmins.
A lively one, apparently, over some complex point of scripture. Very typical for such gatherings.
And while the other kids were, being kids.
Gadadhar was completely focused on the discussion, rapt attention.
And then he did something unexpected.
He leaned over and whispered something to one of the scholars, a solution to the point they were debating. And amazingly, the solution was immediately accepted by everyone there. They were stunned that a 10-year-old could offer such insight.
It sounds almost like a prodigy.
Exactly. The biography even draws parallels to similar stories about Sri Krishna, Sankara, Sri Chaitanya, or other great figures who showed extraordinary wisdom early on. It hints at access to hidden reservoirs of knowledge, something beyond normal learning.
Following the thread ceremony, he was also allowed to formally worship the family deity, Raghuvir. This meant a lot to him, didn't it?
Immensely. Especially because his father had been so devoted to Raghuvir. And for Gadadhar, this wasn't just ritual. He didn't see it as worshiping a stone emblem. He approached Raghuvir as, God actually present, incarnate. His focus during worship and meditation reached really profound levels.
Leading to visions.
Yes, the biography speaks of remarkable visions. This deep personal connection seems central to his experience even then.
And this intensity comes through powerfully in the story of the Shivaratri play. That's a really vivid account.
It truly is. So, Shivaratri night, a sacred time for fasting and vigil, and a play about Lord Shiva was planned at Siddhanath Pine's house.
Gadadhar was planning his own worship at home, fasting as well.
Right. But then, last minute, the actor meant to play Shiva got sick. His friends, like Gaya Vishnu, rushed to Gadadhar.
And urged him to take the part.
Yes. He was hesitant at first, worried it would disrupt his own practices.
But they convinced him.
They did, cleverly arguing that playing Shiva, thinking constantly of Shiva, was a form of worship itself.
So he agreed. And then, in the green room, as they were getting him ready,
Something shifted. As they put on the costume, the ashes, the whole look of Shiva, his mind apparently just detached from ordinary awareness.
so when he went on stage,
His entrance was slow, measured. His expression profoundly serious. The audience was captivated. He seemed like the living impersonation of Shiva.
but it went beyond just acting, didn't it?
Far beyond. The biography describes him becoming completely absorbed in Shiva's divine glory. His mind took a transcendental flight into this state of serenity, experiencing Shiva's presence directly.
So he just stood there.
Motionless. Lost in this sublime state, oblivious to everything. The audience was awestruck, but eventually the organizers realized something was wrong.
He was unconscious.
Essentially, yes. Unconscious to the world, but with tears flowing and this radiance about him, they had to stop the play.
How long did it last?
He remained in that state until the next morning. It must have been an incredible, maybe even frightening thing to witness. It clearly wasn't acting anymore. It was a profound spiritual event, triggered by the intense focus.
And this tendency towards trance states became more common after that.
Yes, the biography notes they increased in frequency. They could happen during meditation, listening to devotional music, anytime strong religious emotion arose.
How did he explain it?
He said that when he meditated deeply on any deity, their actual form would appear vividly in his mind, and the emotion was so overwhelming that he'd lose outward consciousness.
His family must have been worried.
Initially, yes, but because his health didn't seem affected, they eventually grew less concerned. And importantly, these episodes didn't really disrupt his daily life overall.
He still participated in things.
Oh yes, he loved religious ceremonies, all of them. And significantly, he found joy in worshiping all deities without making distinctions.
That seems key, that impartiality.
Hugely important. The biography explicitly links this early trait, this equal love for all divine forms, to his later realization of the oneness behind all religions and all forms of God.
A foundational understanding even then.
Definitely. It wasn't something imposed later. It seems to have been part of his nature early on.
And it wasn't just his family noticing something special. Some villagers recognized it too.
Yes, there were a few, like Srinivas, a man who made shell bracelets. He's described as very pious.
What was his connection with the Gadadhar?
They discuss sacred texts, like the Bhagavata Purana. And Srinivas apparently held Gadadhar in such high regard that he would secretly worship him.
Yeah, worship him. How?
Offering him garlands, sweets, telling him he believed Gadadhar would become someone great, asking for his compassion. It shows an early recognition of something extraordinary.
But alongside all this intensity, he was still a boy. He played with friends.
Absolutely. He had close friends, especially Gaya Vishnu. They spent a lot of time playing in a mango orchard nearby.
And he even started a drama group.
He did. With other boys who could sing, they'd stage scenes from the Ramayana and Mahabharata, which Gadadhar apparently remembered verbatim from village performances he had seen.
And he played the lead roles.
Always the hero. His favorites were stories about Krishna, especially the Vrajalila, Krishna's divine play, and Radha's longing for him.
And these weren't just games, were they? His portrayals were intense.
Very intense, often leading to those trance states, even during play. The grove would apparently echo with their sankirtans, their devotional singing.
There's a story about them skipping school, too.
Yes. The teacher found out. But Gadadhar managed to avoid punishment by singing a captivating song. Charm seemed to be one of his skills, too.
But this love for stories and performance contrasted with his feeling about formal school.
Increasingly so. He grew to dislike the routine of school, but he loved reading the epics, the Puranas, lives of saints, anything that resonated with his spiritual side.
Reading them aloud to villagers sometime.
Yes. His focus was clearly shifting away from conventional studies.
And his brother Ramkumar noticed this.
He did. And given the frequency of the trances, Ramkumar eventually allowed him more freedom, didn't push the schooling so hard.
Meanwhile, other family events were happening. Siblings getting married.
Yes, his brother Ramswar and sister Sarvamangala got married. But then there was more difficulty.
With Ramkumar's family.
Yes. His wife became pregnant, but there was some apprehension because she'd apparently broken some traditional food rules before worship. Ramkumar even predicted trouble.
And sadly, he was right.
Tragically, yes. Their son, Akshay, was born in 1849 but died very young. This, combined with Ram Kumar's wife also passing away, really hit the family hard financially too.
Ramswar wasn't earning much.
No, despite being knowledgeable, his income was limited. Ram Kumar's earnings had also dwindled. Facing debt after his wife's death, Ram Kumar made a big decision.
To move to Calcutta.
Yes, to try and start a toll, a traditional Sanskrit school, in a part of Calcutta called Jamapur.
Which left Ramswar holding the fort back in Kamarpukur.
Exactly. Suddenly, the whole burden fell on young, inexperienced Ramswar. He had to care for his mother, Gadadhar, his own wife, and Ram Kumar's orphaned son, Akshay.
That's immense pressure. He must have worried about Gadadhar's lack of interest in education, too.
He did. But the biography suggests he also had this inherited faith, a trust in God's plan, like his father. Still, it was tough.
He found some comfort with the pilgrims.
Yes, spending time with the sadhus and pilgrims at the Laha family's rest house seemed to offer some solace. There's that line in the biography about God's fierce hammering shaping us. Maybe that's how he viewed their struggles.
But somehow, he managed.
Somehow, yes. The family got by.
And Chandra Devi, Gadadhar's mother, her life changed again too, didn't it?
It did. After her daughter-in-law died, the relative peace she had found in prayer was disrupted.
She had to go back to running the household.
Yes, at 58. Caring for little Akshay, cooking, managing everything, alongside her own worship. She had to put aside her rosary, as the biography says, and find the strength to serve the family despite her age.
It really highlights the resilience within that family unit, amidst all the spiritual developments happening with Gadadhar.
Definitely. Everyone was playing their part, facing their own challenges.
So looking back at Gadadhar's boyhood through this biography, it's this incredible mix. Profound loss shaping him early on.
And those encounters with the sadhus sparking something deep.
Then the signs of this extraordinary inner life. The wisdom, the trances, the Visalakshi incident.
Right, and that fascinating clash with convention over the Bhiksha driven by his commitment to truth.
Plus the shifting family circumstances creating the backdrop for it all. It really feels like these years laid down the tracks for who he would become.
Absolutely foundational. You can see the threads of his later life and teachings woven into these early experiences. The crucible, really.
So thinking about all of this, the loss, the monks, the trances, keeping his promise to Dani, the family situation, if you had to pinpoint one thing, maybe an event or a characteristic, what do you think was most pivotal in shaping the person Gadadhar became? It's interesting to consider how all these things, the good and the difficult, sculpt the life path, isn't it?
I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.